homelessness is because of the housing prices. It's not compatible with income, with minimum wage. Because a lot of the buildings today, people with minimum wage can't afford them. In the 60s, like I was explaining, like in the 60s, excuse me, there was no such thing as homelessness because you could get a room for $2 a night. And so people would, they would do different things, work for people like they do now. And they'd be able to daily come up with enough to get them a room. And a lot of the hotels would probably even allow them to like, if you couldn't get it today, they let you stay the next day, and then you pay them later. And then my sister passed. And so it was just sudden. So I had to find me a place to stay, and it was like I was, looking in here and there, And so it was taking me a while, and for 3 weeks, I was sleeping in my car. I would just wake up and when it get cold and turn the motor on a little while and turn the heater on and go back to sleep. And meanwhile in the daytime go around and try to go to different agencies and try to find some housing, I have a place to stay and I'm taking care of myself. I'm paying my rent on a daily, a monthly basis. But what I really want is my own apartment, eventually. You learn from two places. You only learn from two places. You learn from your heredity that's in the home, your family, mother, father, uncle, brothers, sisters, cousins, in your home, and everything outside of the home, your friends, school, and everything else, is the environment. Because my father taught me a long time ago, when I was a lot younger, you can give people attitudes and they won't like you. But he told me one thing that I found is real important, that it's better to have people like you than to have people not like you. Because they will have people that don't like you and play like they like you. And meanwhile, they are cutting you up and talking about you behind your back. And they can do you more harm than, the person that's straight out letting you know, I don't like you. What I learned in college was we had a class called active listening. As you listen and you're hearing the message, then you'll speak about the message to get them to talk about what they're not saying, which is the message. Because it's not always what somebody says, is what they are not saying that is important. I really didn't have a problem with, being safe on the streets. I've always felt like if you broke in my car, you'd want to hurry up and get out. If you jumped on me, you would want to hurry up and jump back off. And that's my attitude. And it's been that way all my life. And it hasn't changed, because I'm not bothering you. So you don't want to be bothering me.
From coming here, with a sleeping bag and a tent, to having their own apartment, their own car, and working for the county, and thriving. It's like I've really seen some elevation here, and this is kind of one of those places, if you're going to make it here, you can make it anywhere. And the beautiful part about the Harrison is that it is a structured building for people to reacclimate to living on the inside after being homeless for who knows how long. And, complicated with mental health disabilities, and anybody that's lived outside has some type of PTSD. That's just off the top, and whatever that looked like outside for them. There needs to be more programs to teach people how to live on the inside. It's like these reentry programs for parolees. We're teaching them technology, computers, phones, how to even use a smartphone, right? Because they never have. And then even transferring that to a laptop because it's a little bit different. And teaching them those things, teaching them a bus route. How do you get your bus pass? Where do you go? How do you read the signs? Where's BART? Basic things that I think that when they house people, they take for granted that these people are going to know these things. And they don't. You don't realize that what I may think are basic necessities, basic tasks, that somebody else has no clue. And how are they going to learn it? How? If we don't impress this upon them, if we don't show. So let's go ahead and get you leveled up. I care about how you smell. I care about how you present. So it's like the care piece is just endless, like endless. You don't know what that caring piece is going to look like for somebody. And just even having those motivational conversations with people, you find a lot out about people, just being curious. There's the shelter piece, but the care that goes with it, and helping people adjust, right? And whatever that care looks like, we don't know what it's going to look like from person to person, but if you come into it caring and being curious, that's going to lead you versus being this person judgmental. I don't care. Two people could have the same diagnosis, same situation, came from the same place, but they're two completely different people, and I need to provide different care for each of them. They keep me accountable, I keep them accountable, and it's just, you got to find that way with each individual person. But I really just think Harrison has just been an amazing trajectory to see the growth in this building, and new population of people, new population of problems, troubles, disabilities, substance abuse issues. Everything's different. Everything is different, and it changes every couple of years, and we just have to adapt to it. And it's a lot of learning. I mean, these people teach you so much.
When I was 9 years old, my doctors told me you won't make it to 40, because at the time that was the prognosis for what I had going on. So I lived my entire life on the theory that I was not going to make it to 40. Comparing who I was at 21 versus, I'm about to be 41 on the 7th. I'll compare who I was then to who I am now. You know what changed me? Illness. Getting old. Getting broken. Getting sick. If I were to go over to fucking Jingletown right now and try to run like I was at 21, I'd be dead in a year. Because they don't know me, number one, and I'm not nearly as quick or as violent as I was at 21. I do not possess the chops to survive in that landscape, which is why I live here. And living here, that's bringing it back to the Harrison. Living here for the last 8 years has taught me how to turn it off. Because I lived so long under such, that kind of pressure that I didn't trust the building. I was waiting for people to break my door down. It hasn't happened, and it's taken a long time. Up until a year ago. It really took a long time for me to get comfortable here, but I can tell you now, if I were to win the lottery tomorrow, I would not leave the building. Because I trust everybody who has any power or any access to the building. I trust implicitly with my life. Loyalty, it's not a noun, it's a verb. Loyalty is a verb to me. And friendship is a verb. Community is a verb. It's the thing you do. It's not whatever. It's not a passive identity. You get people who are like, here's help that you don't need help with. You know what I mean? Because food, immediate, tangible resources are more effective than all the goodwill in the world. Because if someone's hungry, they don't give a fuck if you were polite to them. They need to find breakfast. Speak softly, but carry a big stick. Be nice. I'm nice to everybody. I'm cordial to people, but don't mistake my kindness for weakness, to paraphrase Capone. Because you have to be, especially in a place like Oakland where everybody's got their own agenda. Be social and be yourself, but be uncompromising when it comes to your own safety.
Mostly people on the street, they are lost because they have nobody. But people need help, housing. It makes a lot of difference. 90% you have a place, it's helpful. You at least you go open a key and it doesn't matter you're hungry or thirsty, you have place. When you have nothing, you just around the street like a wild bird. So I was that point, I was, slept on the street 5 months, 6 months. It's not easy. It's on a cement. And people look at, oh, homeless. I said, no, don't look at us like that. Help us. Need help. And slowly, our friends, they try to help me. Hey, don't do this, don't do that. The community, the social workers, the police, they help me too, Hey, well, I was doing Christmas, and they called me. They said, oh, you want to die? I said, no. Just throw it away. I threw it away. So I learned something. I threw it away. They didn't write me citation or anything. So they helped me too. I said, I don't want to die, If you want to die, we don't care, because it's your choice. What happened, you learn your mistakes and take it. Talk to some people, you'll understand what you're doing wrong, and nobody wants to do wrong. It just started when you're on the street. It's hard to change because, but it takes time and they understand, I hope. I did it myself. I learned from my mistakes, this is not good. I went go out on the street, I look at the people, because I came from there, they're homeless. I feel bad about it. I say, whatever I can help, I don't know what I can help. Cigarette, I'll give them a cigarette, or need $1 here, there. If I have it, I'll give it to them, I have the feelings, because I was there one day. But I don't know what else to say about it. They have to do themselves too a little bit to change for their good, not for anybody else. My dad is always say, oh, do good, happens good. Don't worry about it. Do good always.
I think Oakland is such a resilient city. It's such a caring place. I think there is more community in Oakland than other places I've lived, or at least that's kind of been my experience of just people caring about the city they live in and wanting things to change. I think the Harrison Hotel really provides a space for people to land sometimes. I think people don't always want to stay there long term necessarily, but I think it can be kind of like a landing pad for people where they haven't had stability for a long time, and then this is their first kind of taste of oh, I have some stable housing, and the rent is in theory more manageable to pay, it's a smaller portion than the crazy market rate values that are all around here. It's the Harrison is this lifeline and a landing pad, and people can really get things into motion, kind of change their lives by being at the Harrison. People have done it. We've seen that happen with clients, where people kind of then leave and then they go on to do things that they had hoped they would do and weren't sure that they'd be able to. feel like the metaphor of like the acorn, like before it becomes an oak tree, where it's like the acorn has everything within it that it needs to become an oak tree, and like it doesn't worry about becoming an oak tree because it knows it's just going to do that on its time. And I think there's something about people like that, where I think everybody has this innate access to healing or this inner wisdom. Like people know what will be healing for them, even if it's blocked to them right now. And I think as a therapist, it's like, how can you support somebody in like accessing that for themselves? Sometimes for certain communities, having anxiety was adaptive. Like it was good to be hypervigilant because you were under threat. And so how can I be like, well, you shouldn't do that anymore? Where it's like, no, that saved you and your family's lives. And it's like come down and been passed down of like, this is how we've stayed safe. But now maybe you're in a context where you don't need it to the same extent. And then it's like, how do you work with that? Therapy kind of fills the role that a lot of community healing used to do, and a lot of therapeutic modalities are kind of rooted in this healing from before. I feel like my job as a therapist is kind of to just be curious with you about your own experience, and I don't really, at the end of the day, like there is no universal truth, and it's like whatever is true for you is like the truth that we're going to be working with. My job is to support you in how you find healing, but my job isn't necessarily to heal you.
I was put in a foster home in Marin County, and I grew up around a lot of Caucasian people. And I was passed on countless amounts of foster homes because I was African American, because they deemed me as too angry, because they felt that, I was, going to be another African American statistic. I've been pretty much, overlooked over a lot of things. When I graduated high school, I graduated at 17. And immediately when I came home, the group home staff told me, you gotta leave. Like, we need the bed. We have to house someone else. So you're gonna have to pack up your stuff and you're gonna get out. And from that day, June 8th, 2012, I've been on my own when it comes to housing and when it comes to, trying to find that safety net over your head so you're able to maneuver through life and, get the right sleep and do what you're supposed to do. That's hard to obtain, especially in a position of where I'm coming from. And, that was something that I struggled with for years, all the way up until now. I didn't obtain housing until I was about 30. I'm now 31. I'm a very firm believer that your parents are the architecture of how people treat you on the outside. If your parents are consistently putting you down and, making you feel less than, then it's, in a sense, they're making it okay for other people to do that. It takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of courage. And, I just don't believe in failure. And, I remember being a kid, and I remember, one of my therapists, after hearing, what I went through as a child, like, I remember my therapist asking me, she's like, well, why haven't you thought about, suicide? Like, why didn't you think to jump off of a bridge, or why didn't you think to take your own life? And quite honestly, why would I? That's, to me, that's a sign of weakness. That's a sign of giving up. I feel like that is a sign of pretty much giving into the temptation of everyone who told you that you would never make it. You gave right into that. And I never want to be a product of giving into, the negativity of what someone else says. For me, being at the Harrison, I would definitely say that It is interesting. Definitely interesting. For me, I definitely say that it is a major stepping stone in the right direction for me. Home to me means, that safe space, that safe haven, that place that you can go to be able to decompress and, really just let your emotions fly across the room, and you're able to just fall apart and, bring it back together before walking out of the threshold of that home and, entering society again.
True, I love it, having my own little space. True, I love being at the Harrison. I love it. Don't have to live with nobody. Don't have to listen to nobody. I can do what I want there. Come in when I want, leave when I want, and all that. So it's just my little space, and I love it. When I'm at home, I be in my room all the time. I don't come. The only time I come downstairs if I gotta talk to my case manager, or besides that, or check my mail, or if I'm going to the store. But if I feel like cooking, I just wait until about 12 o'clock at night to come downstairs to cook, because ain't nobody downstairs at 12 o'clock at night. I don't come downstairs during the daytime because there be a lot of people in there cooking. I used to try to make other people happy in life, right? Because that's one thing about me. I be trying to make other people happy. But then she taught me to stop trying to make other people happy and do stuff for yourself. Make yourself happy. Like, make yourself happy. And she taught me that. Like, I need to stop worrying about what other people think of me. Because at first, I didn't never stick up for myself. I used to let people just pick on me, pick at me. But now, when people do say something to me, I stick up for myself. And they don't like it. They want the old me back, the one they used to bully. But no, there's a new me. So, yep, just stick up for yourself. And don't worry about what nobody's saying, because they miserable and they try to make you miserable. Because there's a lot of people that's mad about their life. So, So they trying to do something to bring my life down, and I'm not letting that happen. And I stay positive a lot, too. Because if you stay positive, something good's gonna happen to you.
After my mom passed, I was taking care of her. After my mom passed, they sold the family house, so we all dispersed out a little bit. And I was homeless, living on my car, and I was there for a while. And I went to the tiny homes, and now I'm here. When I first got a bed, I couldn't even lay down straight because I was in the car so long. My back was all hurt. Now it's not hurting as much. You gotta be ready to, be able to be housed. If you're not ready, it's not gonna work for you. You gotta be at that point to be ready. I wasn't out homeless like forever. Like some people have been out there 15, 20 years and they ain't no way they wanna be inside. You gotta be ready for change. Out there on the street, it's not safe at all. You can't even have people come in. People doesn't come into the Harrison without being signed in, and you gotta sign them out. And I value that. I appreciate that a lot. Nobody's wandering around into stuff, getting arguments with other people. Yeah, so it's safe here. I feel it's very safe. And the Harrison is perfect. It's a good location. There's good people there. It's always clean, always nice. No problems with anyone, I guess. I'm grateful that they allow dogs here. That's my most important. I'm gonna take care of my dog first. She's better than I do. It's quiet, my dog's happy, I'm happy. It's a good thing. They gave us the opportunity to participate. Some people didn't want to, some people, but they gave you the opportunity to. That's all that, really count. If they give you the opportunity, take it. You don't have to be the perfect person. Before, I could look to help somebody else, I gotta make sure I'm okay myself, Don't sacrifice your own sanity or life, for someone else. That's basically how I learn a lot of things, just by being observant, and seeing how people and what makes things click. It's not words, it's actions, I guess. We gotta break the cycle, break the cycle of homelessness, jobs, any job, just to make them a little responsible. It don't take a lot, to start moving like you want it or feel good about yourself. Just something to make it better, and making life worth living, making tomorrow better than today. That's one thing. If everybody put a little bit of effort in, it's gonna get better.
I was leaving a transitional in Hayward. I was coming from a shelter. There was a lot of stuff going on. I had not been in Oakland. I did not know Oakland. Didn't even know where I was going from the BART station. I had to try and use directions on my phone. So the young man helped move me up into the 7th floor. At the time, I didn't have a dresser. I didn't have anything. When I was in one of my inpatient treatment programs, I got my GED. And then when I was in a domestic violence program, I was told I could go to community college. And I loved it. I loved being back in school. I love learning. I loved it. I just was sucking it up. I started drinking at like 12. I did not, there's a lot I did not learn during those times. I did learn a lot, but I did not delight in learning like I do now, right? And I think that might have something to do with the strength because of what I'm learning and what I'm doing and who I'm learning it for. I have granddaughters and daughters and culture and people, and I think what I'm doing matters. And then people were listening, people, I got on a fellowship, and at first I cried constantly. And then people heard me, and Alameda County puts a lot of value on lived experience and the voices of lived experience. And it made a difference to be seen, just to be seen, you were seen every day, I was seen. It matters. When I needed help, there was people that answered the phone. That were priceless. And I have a phone that people call now, and I have to be there to answer it. And I remember what it felt like for me when when they answered. And that changed things for me and my kid. So I got to answer if I can. Some of the strongest, most supportive, pivotal people in me surviving some really serious things are gone. I make all these promises to myself and God and the universe to just hold on to, I'm so glad I'm what you would remotely call healthy again. But, oh my God, I don't want to go back to that, right? I won't ever be in a position again where anybody tells me I have nowhere to be.
When you're on the streets, you obviously have no private space. Having private space is like I said, I'm still getting used to I moved in and I was like, oh, I have space to decorate and to do all this stuff that I hadn't done for years and kind of make a space my own. It's life changing. It's It's life changing. It allows me to get like things back together. It like makes me feel more like a human. Like I feel more like a member of society or something. I went to UC Berkeley, and then I moved out when I finished up there in 2012. I moved over to North Oakland. And then I went off and worked too much and burned myself out and found myself sleeping on the streets. I would work from like 9 in the morning till 11 p.m. at night. And I did that for years and was traveling a bunch, traveled all over the United States for work. And like, it just got to be too much. And I was just, burning the candle at both ends. And like, you have to find balance. I was in my like late 20s when I was doing that. And, it just caught up to me and, started to transition, from being, start taking hormones and doing that at that point. And like, it just kind of the whole my psyche kind of collapsed under that. And then also with like just working too hard, and eventually it led me out onto the streets. I get frustrated when people aren't upfront with what their issues are with myself or with the world around them, and in a graceful way, like in a tactful way. And you have to be able to see things from the other person's perspective. I always go back to this idea of charitable assumption. Like you always have to assume the best in someone, even if it seems like they're trying to be, crappy or mean or whatever it may be towards you. You have to assume the best in them, or like see it from their perspective, and then that helps you understand. It helps you like lead with a more empathetic kind of like approach, rather than kind of like being on your guard. If I feel good about how I look, I'm going to treat everybody around me better for some reason. And so I try and take care of myself, because I think that then helps me like have that conversation with other people and communicate better with other people.
I was coming from the streets and doing whatever in the streets. So, some things happened to where it was like, I need to make a change. So start putting in applications and everything like that. And lo and behold, they called. And I've been here ever since. The Harrison get a bad rap, for having all walks of life of people. You can look at the area that it's in, see a lot of different, walks of life. Some drug addicts, some mentally disturbed people. It's just a combination. And, a lot of people prejudge before you actually get to know what's what. Being focused and, always paying attention, and just making sure nobody comes in to try to harm our people, staff and residents included. So, like I said, it's like a family atmosphere. We got to look out for one another. People, new residents move in, some of them is coming from nothing, so they don't have too much of nothing. We welcome everybody with open arms. And, people need that. They need that to feel like they want it and like they matter. You see some of these tenants, you don't know what they're going through, and sometimes a simple good morning could change their outlook on the whole day. Just to, see how they doing, check in with them, just to let them know that, hey, you having a bad day, you could come and holler at me and talk to me. It don't hurt to do none of that. Don't hurt at all. Yeah, you might be helping somebody else out, and you don't even know it. My grandpa was born in 1918, so his parents was slaves, basically. So he talked to me a little bit about that, once I got older and whatever. So yeah, he was just telling me how it was different from coming from down the south to up this way up north. That we come from strong people. Our family is, we got strong-minded and strong-willed people in our family, and family is everything. Family is key. You know, so lean on your family when you need to. Yeah, you really preach family a whole lot. You have the right people around you a little bit, it could change. Yeah, it could change. Only if you want it, though. Only if you want it.